Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Healthy Human podcast. I'm Kara.
And I'm Lauren. Today, during this podcast, we're covering our 5 types of factors of health. Apologies. Still going to get this. It's movement, nutrition, connection, mindset, rest, and recovery. But for our topic for today, Kara, what are we talking about?
We are talking about balancing family, friends, and fitness, how to stay connected while pursuing your health goals.
We got plenty to say about this. And I know we were talking about family earlier, but do you want to share a little bit of how that has impacted like your family life with being a coach, with being an athlete?
Yeah, 100%. The problem is Lauren and I talk about this right before we meet. So we're going to try to remember everything we talked about and repeat it to you guys.
If not, I'll ask you questions. I've got some ideas.
So what we were, Isha's going to need to cut this out. Okay, great. So, I think that balance is a huge part of, honestly, anyone's health and fitness journey. And so something that I was talking about was I'm recently married, right? I married Alfred. Shout out Alfred.
Alfred. I worked out next to him this morning.
We got married in April. And so a big part of when Alfred and I started dating even was a conversation about how important my health and fitness is to me. And honestly, I was looking for someone that had the same values, because that's like number one priority.
It's huge.
And so I was lucky enough to be able to date and then marry somebody that also prioritizes his health. And we do not see eye to eye on everything. And I obviously am coming at everything from a competitor's eye. He is more just like here to work out and be healthy. And so something that we have, talked about and decided in our relationship is, okay, what's most important with health and fitness? Like, what are the non-negotiables for me to feel good when I'm training other people and training myself? I think about sleep, nutrition, connection, all the 5 factors of health, right?
Yes.
Those things. So for us, we have decided together, like, okay, if sleep is really, really important, great. We are going to bed and waking up at the same time.
I think that's great.
Yeah. Finding a partner that is willing to be able to fix their sleep schedule to align with yours is so helpful. And just because your partner does not go to bed and wake up the same time as you doesn't mean that you can't go to bed at a different time, right?
Yeah.
If you know that
there's something probably bonding about it though.
Yeah.
As well.
100%. Yeah, actually, the funny thing is that Alfred read a study that couples that go to bed and wake up at the same time have a stronger relationship. There's probably a statistic in there. I don't know what it is.
It's a good statistic, whatever it is.
And so we just decided like this was important to us, and so we were going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So that's like a big part of it. I think the other thing too is nutrition and training time is really important. And so just making sure that he was supporting me in my goals and how much food I need to eat and the things I need to eat. He just kind of jives with it, and we make things work.
Your scale and your macros and everything.
I got to scoop out the rice, 250 grams per meal.
Yeah. And how does that affect like family events or even outside of Alfred, like your health and your fitness goals? Has that clashed in any way, or has it been pretty easy, like your family's supportive of you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I started competing in CrossFit while I was still living with my parents, and I wasn't coaching at the time. And since I moved out, I had started coaching after that. So it's been interesting watching that kind of change as I got more into CrossFit. And I think that right off the bat, my family would kind of question certain things, like, why are you like measuring things out, or why are you eating these foods now, or why are you eating kind of a different dinner than what we're having? And I think that I just explained my goals to them. I was like, this is really important to me, and these are the certain things that I want to be able to do, which kind of brings like the first point of like figuring out what your goals are.
Yes.
And vocalizing it, right? Because if the people around you don't understand what you're working on, how are they gonna support that, right? And so I wonder, have you ever experienced that with your family, especially? Because I know your family's not even
my family's
here.
in Indiana. So I live currently on my own, but I've always been like in community. So I feel like my friends here are my family. But when I go home, my family knows I'm going to probably be running and at my local CrossFit gym. So I'll have conversations as like we're preparing, because I'll come home maybe 2 to 3 weeks a year. I'll literally say like, okay, I would love to go to the gym like every day. When are we doing events? When are we doing things so I can connect with you all? But then also, get my workout in, because they know like this is Lauren's passion and love, is to take care of herself.
Yeah.
Thankfully, half my family, like my parents, they love working out. I think they walk twice a day and they go to the gym. They're crazy. And they're in their 60s.
Amazing. Okay, you say they're crazy. Guys, Lauren has run like so many marathons. How many marathons have you run now?
9, and number 10 will be November 10th. So
she's
there
amazing.
You go.
She's amazing.
It's happening. It's coming up. I'm so excited. This is my 3rd of the year. I like went big this year.
It's awesome.
But my family knows that. And so I think that's really helpful. And I try to find ways still in the midst of going after my health goals, even here in our busy schedules, I'll be talking to them on the phone, like as I'm going to coach, or I'm making sure like you all are a priority, even if, yeah, health is a huge part of my life. I want them to know like I care about you all in the midst of this, and I invite them into it. Now, they definitely are never going to do CrossFit. They don't want to do anything of that sort, but they care about health. And so I'll be like, my mom actually just yesterday was like, oh, what do you want when you come home? And I was like, okay, I want this type of meat, like these veggies. And so she's making healthy meals. And so she already knows like how I've held myself like in my standards with my health. She's like ready and preparing already like in a month. And
that
it's so
is
sweet.
Powerful.
So she's bought in, like they're bought into my health goals. And I think that took time, but then she realized like, oh, this is so valuable to Lauren. So I want to make it a value, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And I'm sure that took time. Like I'm sure that when you first started exercising and having running be a priority, your mom probably wasn't calling you up and being like, hey, what food do you want?
She's like, here's cookies. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to eat those. I wish, but don't make those around me.
I love our Midwest moms.
They want to fatten us up. And I'm like, sis, I can't do that right now.
Oh my gosh. Also, never say never. My mom, love you, Karen, she started CrossFit about 3 years ago now.
That is
at the
wild.
age of 62, and she competed in her first open a couple years ago. I love her. So.
Tammy literally does 3-pound weights. I'm like, Tammy, I think you should try 5-pound weights. And she's like, oh, my wrist hurts a little. I'm like, okay, way to go, just going to your classes. She'll call me and be like, I went to a class today. She tells me every time she comes to a class. So she knows like, I know you're gonna be proud of me if I do this. But I don't think she's at the standard of your mom.
No,
so
we love it. Okay, next episode, how to get your mom to do CrossFit. Okay,
exactly.
Look out for it.
Okay, well, let's transition over to friends, because that's a huge part. I was mentioning friends earlier, but like, how has this affected your social life and your health goals, all of that?
Yeah. I will not sugarcoat it. Like, it has changed. Like, my social life now does not look the same that it did 5 years ago, pre-CrossFit, pre-coaching. And I think that's also just the life cycle of growing up, is like your circle is going to change as time goes on, and your goals and values change as well. I think back to 5 years ago, I was actually in college. So that was my last year of college. And I think
I think you're so much older. I'm like, what? Also college over those days.
Which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, during that time, it was like party girl era. We were going out on the weekends.
You had to.
I was doing a sport in college, so I was physically fit. But at the same time, like, nutrition was not that important to me. It was more so like, what's going on the weekend? What are we doing Friday, Saturday night? And
your body probably could bounce back, I bet, at that point.
Oh, recovery was great. We could sleep 5 hours and go to practice the next day. Who cares? But yeah, I think that as time has gone on, I really value my sleep. I value my nighttime, my morning routines. My weekends are sacred to me. And so I think what had to happen is I had to decide, okay, who are the people in my life that are supporting my goals? And if there are, certain social activities or certain friends that feel like they are hindering the goals, it's like, okay, maybe we just dial back on the time that we spend with those people, and we pour more into those that are supporting my personal goals. And I feel like I can pour more into their goals because they align more with what I'm doing with my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it needs to be that toxic, I'm cutting everyone off in my life that doesn't support me. It's just like, what cup do I want to fill up this weekend? What do I have the energy for? And how is it going to also, benefit me in the long run as well? But I don't know if that's relatable, or maybe not.
That's good. I think it applies to so many different people that you have to figure out who's actually going to support you. And it's funny, I don't even think those friends have to be athletes or fully care about the same things that you care about to support you and what you do. A lot of my friends are actually, I think, places of rest. They don't do CrossFit. I think I have one friend that joined for a CrossFit workout, and then I have a woman that I run with every week. Shout out to Bailey. She's an amazing runner. So but the rest of my friends, I would say don't do CrossFit. They care about health in different ways. But it might be I just want to go on a hike, or I want to walk, or go to Pilates. And so, but they're always Lauren, we love that you're coaching. We love that you're doing these things. Oh, we understand. Like, some people wanted to hang out the other week, and I was like, I have my marathon, and afterwards I'm gonna be exhausted. And they're like, that's fine. We'll reschedule. And so we rescheduled something, but they knew like, oh, these are big things to Lauren, and we're so happy she's doing them, even if they're never gonna go run a marathon. And I don't put that pressure on them ever, that they need to look a certain way or be a certain way. I just am like, hey, if I can like model this out in my community and be supported, I'm hoping to support people in whatever health goal they want to, because I'm like, you don't need to look like me to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah. Have you seen that like actually play out before though? Where like, I don't know, have you ever had a friend who maybe their goals didn't align with yours at all and you've seen a shift because of that? Or is it more so like, we don't align with each other, maybe it's best that we don't spend as much time together?
Honestly, not particularly. Maybe because I'm really stubborn with who I pick my close friends to be. I'm so picky. I'm so picky who comes into my life. And so somehow I've picked well. But yeah, I haven't had anyone that's like outwardly. If anything, I've had to give friends like heads up. Like I hung out with some friends the other week and I was like, hey, I'm doing this like M2 nutrition coaching. Heads up, I'm like not going to be eating a lot of this food or at all. And so it was more just like, they're like, oh, okay. And they were like, are you sure you don't want that piece of pizza? And I was like, I can't. And they're like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
So that's like the craziest it's gotten is like, hey, head up. Like I'm going to be doing this.
Yeah.
So
wait, I love that point actually, because shout out M2. Shout out M2. Me and Lauren both do coaching.
I just started.
M2.
I'm a baby, like a month in.
They're awesome. It's like a performance nutrition company. Shout out Mike. But when I think that a big part of balancing, you know, social life also revolves around nutrition, because when we think about social life, we think about eating, drinking, going out.
And you have as much as you want. Yeah. Potlucks. I mean, I think I was at part of like 2 or 3 potlucks this week, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like thousands of foods here.
Yeah. And I think for anyone that's on especially a, you know, like journey of weight loss, nutrition plays a ginormous role in reaching your goals.
Oh, 1,000%.
And so I'm curious of like, especially because you've just started with working on nutrition with a coach one-on-one, I'm curious to know like how that like off the bat has impacted your social eating, if it has, and if you've made any changes in that department.
No, definitely. I mean, I have like already kind of like 2 of the things I like brought food to share with people, but it was the food I needed to eat that day.
Yes.
Like I brought like ground chicken and salad that I was like, I'm going to be eating this for my macros and you all can too if you would like.
Yeah.
So I did things like that, like, because I'm like, I'm not going to not go to social events. I'm not going to enjoy, or I will aim for different macros or calories that I know I can have just at that place.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fortunate. I'm not like the biggest fan of alcohol. That like consumes so many calories. So it makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to desserts, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that homemade cookie, or I want that. And so, yeah, just having to like place for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, I can't do it. I have to say no, which feels so rude because culturally it can be really offensive. People love to feed. Like some people's cultures, it's like that is a love language, is feeding and feeding and feeding you.
Yeah.
And so you have to, it's like finding that boundary of like saying no.
Drawing the line.
Drawing the line. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that anyone that goes to Reasons potlucks, the joke is I always take a salad of some sort. That's what I always write on the potluck because I buy it at the last second. But it's like the reason I do that is because when you have a potluck, you have the option to bring what you want, right? Yes. So it's like, if you know that you have a particular goal, number one, Eric told me this the other day. He says he pre-games certain meals, which I really liked that idea. You pre-game. It's like, if you know that this potluck might not have very much protein, it's like, do you have a shake before? Could you cook some chicken and eat it before you go?
Don't go hungry to a potluck.
Yes.
You will eat so much.
100%.
Or to a restaurant that like you're super hungry.
Yeah, like a restaurant where if you know they only serve pizza and there's no options for protein, you're not going to eat vegetables. It's like, what do you do? Well, there are a couple things you could do. Yeah. If it's a potluck, for example, it's like, bring what you want to eat. Bring what you know fits within your goals. And don't be afraid to literally bring a Tupperware of food if you have to.
Oh my gosh, I hope not though. For anyone's sake.
You might look like
Have you done that before?
Bringing a Tupperware. Actually, I haven't.
Yeah. I was like, have you done that?
I've never done it. No, but I think
I understand to like work, meal prepping. I was talking to Tiff, who's at the 6:30 class. Shout out to Tiff. She like does Monday through Friday. She will meal prep like the whole week for her work and like at her house because she lives with her family. And so her family is eating other things, which I think a lot of people I've talked to, they're like, I'm eating way different than my family to get to my health goals.
Yeah.
And then, and then she won't during the weekend enjoy like food a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something there.
Yeah. 100%. And you think like we're coming up on a season where your work, especially healthcare workers, I notice this with healthcare workers because I work with quite a few people that work in that. There is always food available.
Oh,
always. There's
I would
donuts,
go wild.
candies, treats. They're having potlucks multiple times throughout the week because of like different holidays, different birthdays, things like that. That's where packing your own food will make or break your goals.
That's where those Tupperwares come in.
The Tupperwares come in place. Please do not show up to your holiday party at a restaurant with a Tupperware container.
So wild.
Yeah, I think that can be really, like I said, it will make or break your weight loss goal. Yeah. Because a sneaky donut here and there could turn into one every single day.
So quickly. It's crazy. And I know we're talking about nutrition, but I think this also goes into like us working out and getting sleep. Like you said, is like communicating with friends and family. These are really important to me, priorities. I love the way you and Alfred have like, you kind of probably had like a couple sit downs, like, okay, how are we going to go after these goals together?
Yeah.
And then make a plan. And I know personally for me, I'm not married. I live on my own, but I'm still like every Sunday sitting out and making a plan for the week. I'm like, okay, this is when I'm going to see these friends. This is when I'm going to work. This is when I'm going to coach. This is when I'm going to run and work out, and making sure like, okay, these are priorities. Even if there's, multiple priorities I have going on, but how do I stay at my goals? It's like, okay, well then I have to get that in this day. Like I can't miss it.
Yeah.
And so kind of making it non-negotiables throughout the week. But I'd be curious how you get in your workouts in the midst of everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the same thing. Like Google Calendar is my best friend because my whole job is scheduling with people, and well, that's not my whole job. That is a large part of the role.
I was going to say, I feel like you do more.
But yeah, scheduling is a huge part of it. And so making sure that like my training time is blocked in my calendar. You will see a 2.5 hour gap in the middle of basically every day for my training time. And once that's in the calendar on Sunday night, when it's set, I'm like, great. If anyone tries to book something during that time, it's a no.
That's great. That's such a good boundary.
Yeah, we can always move it to a different time. We can always do a meeting over Zoom. There's certain things that we can do, but I know that training, when I hit Sunday night, it's like, great, these are locked in for the week now. And I think that living with my husband, we also know that it's like, okay, Sunday's the night when we're going to try to cook as much food as possible for the week. When we cook dinners, if we're starting to run low on food, we'll just cook some extra to make sure that we're like set to go. So it's like, I don't have that necessarily in my calendar, but it's like, I know that when I go home at a certain time, it's like, great, how can we prepare for the next day? Is there anything I need to get done tonight to make tomorrow morning easier? Because you and I both work earlier mornings.
Oh, 100%.
And so preparation is key.
Yeah, definitely. I'll like prepare like what I'm going to do the next day. Like even I'll look at my calendar. Okay, this is what I'm going to eat. I have it like booked out. Okay, this is where I'm going to be working out, all of it. And so I think it's so important is like a lot of what we're talking about today is like we are planning ahead, we're scheduling to get to our goals. And then I'm guessing there's times where we're reevaluating. Like, for me, I feel like I'm doing it every week. I'm reevaluating my goals every month, and then every 3 months of like, okay, am I getting towards my goals health-wise? What do I need to change? And, some weeks it's going to be a little bit lighter. And then some weeks I'm going to be really intense with my, my routine with my athletics. That sounds really funny, but like with working out and health.
Yeah. And
so that means some things are going to have to fall less into the priority scale. You were talking about this earlier. I wanted you to share, you were talking about like prioritizing in your life. You're talking about family, social, health, and you'll talk with clients about that. Can you share a little bit about that? I feel like people, that would help them.
Yeah. I think that when you start feeling stuck about like prioritizing certain things in your life, right? If you are a really social person, you're like, well, I can't make it to the gym 3 times a week because I have this, and this going on, right? And it's all things that have to do with other people and not yourself, right? I'm like, okay, let's pause. Let's write out 1, 2, 3, 4 on a whiteboard, a piece of paper, or you can just do it like mentally. And then let's write out like the top 4 things that most people are going to prioritize during their week. Okay. It's going to be friends, family, health and fitness, and then your job. Okay. And so what I'll tell them, I'm like, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bullet, like what is the number one thing that you will skip everything below it to be able to prioritize that? So if you put family first, that means that you are willing to skip your workout. You're willing to stop work early. You're willing to cancel plans with your friends because you have to drop it and go to your family, right? Number 2, it's like, great. You know that you're not going to prioritize family over that, but you're going to prioritize the other two things underneath it. Maybe it's fitness. So you will cancel a social event with friends. You will stop work early to be able to go work out.
That's probably us.
Yeah. Time or two, maybe. But writing out this list, I would say every, like you said, however many times you need to reprioritize things, whether it's a week, a month, a quarterly basis throughout the year, these things change. Like just because you wrote out today that family is number one priority, maybe in, 2 weeks from now, your job is the number one priority. It can change, but as long as you're aware of what your priorities are, you know what you're willing to say no to be able to complete those other things.
And I think that's so important when balancing health, fitness, family, because I think they are going to change. I mean, I love seeing like the families that have been coming in here, especially the parents some parents have newborn babies and they're working out, or we've got women who are pregnant, working out in our community. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, they're prioritizing with their families, like their own personal health. And that to me is like so admirable because I'm like, oh, you're figuring it out in your schedule of like how to come in, get in a good workout, and then go to your work or go back to your family and still be able to make balance in all of that. And but that means maybe you're sacrificing some sleep, or maybe you're sacrificing, some time with or friends to be able to take care of your family, to be able to get a good workout. And so it's something I've loved even getting to see in our community is like who's doing that, of making health a priority in the midst of 1,000 other things that they're doing.
Yeah. I think like to tie it up with a bow too, it's like, remember that like you cannot show up for anyone else until you're taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
And so that's where the balance comes in of like, have you taken care of yourself today before you say yes to everything else in your life? Because you're not showing up 100% if you're not well.
Yeah. And I think that's why we go after health. I mean, of course, you have different athletic goals. I have different athletic goals. But I'm like, if I feel alive and thriving and good in my body, I'm just going to be a better person overall. Like if I'm taking care of my health, my nutrition, I'm going to be a better family member. I'm going to be a better friend, a better coach. And so I just realized like, oh, they're like, they all kind of overlap each other. They're all important, but we do have to take care of ourselves. So yeah.
Period. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
So next week, we'll be talking about overcoming perfectionism in health and fitness, how to accept imperfection and still make progress.
Okay.
Fun.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, stay happy, stay healthy.
Stay human.